Good morning, Suraj Singh. This is regarding safety, health and environment. Very important topic, subject, consideration, way of life, part of life. Cannot be avoided by anybody. No way. It is a must and a must. Every one of us is involved somewhere in our life every day regarding issue of safety, subject of safety. We may notice it or we may not notice it. It's required by everybody. You are at home, you are in office, you are on road, you are on walkway, you are in car, you are on scooter, you are in bus, you are in flight, you are in railways, or wherever you are, or even if you are sleeping. You cannot escape provisions of safety, which is a must. Because life has to be safe first. If life is not safe, for example, you are not healthy, you are not safe. Or if you are not safe, when you are not healthy, your safety of body, safety of mind, safety of action, and safety at work, everywhere. External safety, internal safety, safety from physical impact, and safety from mental impact, safety from nature, and safety from this earth. Safety is safety, very interesting word devised by someone. Safety that leads to health and that further leads to environment and which is further a gross subject of energy management which is called ergonomics. Ergo is unit of energy and ergo economics is called ergonomics. How can you best minimize your energy that you have in your body and that you can get in for further delivery? And you have to manage that energy into your everyday's action throughout your life. You are taking food that converts to energy. That energy is like a fuel to you, and you run your body because of that. It's very interesting. We never consider this way, but you think. Thinking is your basic activity in life. Thinking is part of life, and those who do not think, they lose a lot. They lose in their main life. You can get money, you can lose it. But thinking comes more and more if you spend more and more. You concentrate using thinking, a thought process. You get more and more answer, more and more banking on that. When as much as you draw from your mind thinking power, as much as you get more balance, not less balance. If you make thinking, you are getting credit, not debit. You draw thinking, you get credit rather than debit. It's interesting. When you get money out of bank from your account, they draw money, you got a debit. But here, as much as you draw, you multiply that because this is mental process. This is process of soul. This is process of your power. It's not process of your body alone. Body supports thinking. If you are physically fit, not sick, your thinking power accelerates. And we use that power, it further accelerates. That is what utilization of economics of energy, ergonomics. And that is your internal environment of body as well as internal, external entire environment and natural environment. Internal environment of your body, external environment of the body and international or you can say natural environment of body, both these processes, your body environment and natural environment are to be combined together to understand what is real health, safety, health and environment, that's called and management of ergonomics. It is not in simple terms we can say. It's a kind of scientific understanding what we are. If I don't have energy, I cannot move. If I don't have energy, I cannot work. If I don't have energy, I feel drowsy. I may say I am in depression. It is nothing but you can say deficiency of a datum where your energy should be up to, and when that deficiency is gone, you may say you are depressed. Is that nothing other? Not doctors, not necessarily doctor of that. Just to understand the reserve capacity must be there within every body, and that is called ergonomics. Means it's a physical science, it's a physical technology that tells you what you should do, at what level you should sit, at what height you sit, what level you should eyes. You keep your eyes to watch, to work. Whether what centimeter you should be away from your computer, at what distance you have to see your movie, what maximum speed you should walk, or what you should think and how many hours you should think. Everything is related to that. Means you have to fit, you have to keep yourself fit spiritually, mentally, and physically, and that is called safety. Safety doesn't mean one thing only, it means complete safety. Well, that is something philosophical I'm talking, but fact remains that in public life, wherever you work in your home, you work in your factory, you work in some area, you work on construction sites, you work somewhere else. Safety has to be maintained. Every field has its own rules of safety, and that are a must. It cannot be avoided and should not be avoided. For everybody, it has to be understood that safety is a must, but it has to be taught as well. It cannot be automatically understood by everybody, because everybody does not have that level of understanding, that level of intelligence, or that level of calling attention, or that level of concentration on its own by way of experience. So to certain extent, to certain age, it has to be taught in simple terms to everybody so that everybody can understand. Sorry, because it doesn't constitute mathematical study or physical or physics or chemistry study. It's just physical, because your safety supports other activities. Other activities are not do not support safety, but safety supports those. And when you are safe, you can work efficiently. If you are not safe, you cannot work efficiently. And in fact, when you are not safe, you cannot deliver whatever efficiency is required or whatever you expect to deliver. It is just harsh work, or it's over speed work, or it's under speed work, which is not useful for total performance. So what I have to say is safety is a consideration. You may say safety is an imagination. You may say it doesn't define perfectly everything, but it has to be evolved out of that system which we use. And it should be kept changing every day for sake of better understanding. It is not necessary what we decide today for safety has to be maintained, but it's equation that it should be kept in reliability terms positive. We cannot say reliability terms is very important in our life, which includes all relations to safe, serviceable, and durable work, actions, results should be that. Means, suppose I construct a structure, we consider that it is a reliable structure, which means that it should be a safe structure, it should be a performing structure or servicing structure, and it should be a durable structure, which means that reliability equal safety plus serviceability plus durability. Durability. Safety means physically it is safe. Serviceability means it is adequately qualified after production, that it keeps serving for whatever intended purpose it was devised or designed or produced. And durability means it shall work, it shall keep on working for duration which was defined, which was understood, which was targeted, that it should work for so many years and it should work. So these three combinations we can say safety plus serviceability plus durability is equal to reliability, and then safety can be further classified into many considerations, as well as serviceability can be further quantified into terms of land use or something else, work, or whatever properties or whatever expectations we have from that body, building, or structure. And then durability, how long we devise that, we devise for 1 century or 50 years or 25 years or whatever it is. Means this is an equation which must be understood properly, not only for that structure we wanted to do, but for it should be applied to every activity in life. That is very important. A train moves, it should be safe, it should be required service of whatever speed, or it should have a term that you will reach there in 24 hours or 48 hours or 72 hours. Same thing applies to all other activities. It's just an example. So I'll start with this, which is very important. Explanation is very important for everybody. And then I would say that if you just understand basics of this, I would say, let's say building practice or construction, so to say that construction projects have been required since times immemorial. More than 50% budget is covered on development works. More than 50% budget is covered on development works, which involves construction projects pertinent to all types. Engineers from all disciplines work on such projects. Millions of workers contribute to such development around the globe. Engineering has been very significant for to successfully develop all such projects. In fact, generally not very little workers are involved in this field, in this world of construction. Many accidents have been experienced on such projects due to reason of real carelessness or neglect of work and supervision. Everyone is interested to do a fast delivery of proposed project at risk of personal attention and not caring for life value. Created anxiety inculcates a of make feeling to make delivery at appointed date, even not availing ample rest and sleep properly. I personally observe the works are not given due adequate attention from safety viewpoint, though safety is too significant on such works, but it's not given required value to be strictly complied with. Many incidents have been reported regarding collapse of crane booms, scaffolding, and buildings slabs during ongoing construction around the world. Scaffolding was a failure even on certain international airports during construction. For some transport system failure, on supporting works have been reported. Indeed, on plant facilities, safety care is intensively ensured even after so high level of safety care. Bad incidents have been reported. I understand my duty to share my experience about safety requirements with fellow professionals in engineering construction sphere so that experience the same discrimination be affected. Included with this broadcast are many topics about project construction, safety, respecting practical aspects. On activities conducted, only few statements have been included, which may cover a large scope of common construction faced by common engineers and particularly to help support problem solutions that are faced by budding engineers. Many safety management statements have been included, from policy making to tools handling and then taking off to actual work on site. All activities could not be covered yet. An idea has been conveyed about questions in my mind. More statements and methods about how to handle safety issues can be developed. 35 chapters involved indicatively with methods, line management, site middle, and executive management. Certain sketches have been composed for information purpose only to apprise about requirements. Chapters have been based on actual works affected in field as a part of office engineering, field engineering management without including imaginations. Many years of information have been used to produce this work. Model organization chart has been included. Certain activities have also been mentioned. and I expect that this shall assist someone who tries to get it, because such publications are not available in conventional publications by or conventional public distributors, etc. And it's available only through certain professionals, and professionals are not very much interested or keen to write something, but some people are there who are well working on this, and field experience is very significant to be applied onto your mind, because if you have only university level knowledge or only textual knowledge or theoretical knowledge, it doesn't serve any purpose. To an extent, work is required to be done. And therefore, purpose of this work is to assist those aspiring professional engineers and other engineers or subordinate engineers and other staff who are unable currently to refer to certain practical books. And it is, you can say, soul interest or spiritual interest to produce certain works that may help engineers for continuous professional development. That's called CPD in abbreviated form. I have to stock of other works I have respecting construction method statement, technical construction writings, plant facilities procedures, and many site-based management documents under working, or shall be done with, can be shared with you in future if things move positively, if actions move, because I'm finding that generally professionals do not take any required interest in developing their skills, theoretical skills or practical skills. Once they get off of the university, they think job is over, education is over, just the life to make money, earn money, and live comfortably. That state doesn't allow those engineers or professionals to open books again or to learn or write something, and professionals do not generally write or produce like that, but no problem at all. It's up to individuals and people what level interest they take. Is life only a destination to earn money and live comfortable, or just to help nature? Particular construction method statements should assist those works or activities prosecution on site which cannot be extracted from records. So that's what I'm saying. So particular chapters are included in this, not very explanatory or descriptive chapters, but you can say minimal or use indicative contents are there, which are as follows, namely, so I repeat in every talk just for refreshing so that somebody should know what I'm talking about. I have done something and more to be added, and that is safety policy, management system, site security, hand tools, first aid regulations, permit to work, that's called PTW, housekeeping is very common, safety training, emergency and evacuation plan, fire protection, PP is called personal protective equipment, and excavation safety. Control storage and use of hazardous materials, incident reporting, lifting, rigging and hoisting, radiography operations, night working, scaffolds and ladders, and up to scaffolds and ladders. I have already included on video. Now it's now time for temporary electric supply, welding and cutting, working at height and fall prevention, abrasive wheels construction, environment control, hazards control, confined space entry, road safety, and and vehicle operation, reward system, compressed gas cylinders, heat stress, safe practices, disciplinary enforcement, safe work, inspection and audits, plants facility project, construction safety relevant sketches and charts. These are minimum, these are not final, these are just indicative. There is no limit for these. These can be expanded depending upon field of work, and field of work is always indicative and direct, which can tell you what to add, what not to add. This is just common construction activities which I have gone through, or but there is no limit. It can be anything you can do yourself. I'm just trying to advise or guide, means documentation should be done for future generations, because till now we did not have any documentation in life, and that is the reason we suffer practically to work. And even your professional level people and non-professional level people do not have any backup with them, but they do according to their client theories or their heritage knowledge or their pragmatic applications. So it is temporary electric supply, which is Chapter 19 and says again scope, purpose, definitions, responsibilities, instructions, references, and attachments. This is general index which we are using on statements, writing purpose. But announcement of that is also equivalent important. That's what I'm doing. The scope is this procedure applies to all construction site temporary electrical provisions in projects. This is temporary electrical supply. And purpose is to provide controls for use of elect, temporary electric is very common on projects without which project cannot move, can be provided from main permanent supplies if available, or also by installing required capacity fuel operated generators equipped with adequate precautions. On major site, many generators may also be required at various locations to meet equipment operations and site working demands. From such main distribution boards, transmission is affected to various areas when system is centralized. Regular site electrical management is required under direct controls of electrical department on project site. Electrical supplies to site for works is really a critical activity since it cannot be provided in a style of permanent works. Routes of front work cable shall be required to be altering every day depending on requirement of various locations. Even certain smaller equipment such as concrete mixers, concrete vibrators, and lights shall be provided to be operated electrically. Offices, air conditioners, and lights shall be connected to such temporary arrangements, and all other appliances whatsoever to be used on temporary works or on offices, etc., would be required to be connected to temporary electrical supplies. So certain definitions, conventional definition, indicative definitions are safety. As I said, safety means safety, health and environment, disciplines to support project activities. Company means organization carrying out or prosecuting project. Contractor means organization that has one project from owner. Subcontractor means the organization that has one part of the project work from contractor organization. Client means an organization and tied to company in contractual terms that has entrusted project to organization of contractor. Personal means all personnel involved on project site activities. Responsibility means job and contract responsibility. Training means training imparted for a specific safety topic on job or project site. Management means organization, staff, middle and lower management. Safety manager means a person with job title safety manager deployed by certain organization. Project manager means a person as such a project manager title PM deployed by contractor. Engineer means a person appointed by client or client company for an overall project responsibility. Employer means project owner. Contractor means EPC or engineers. EPC engineering procurement construction contractors. Temporary electrics means all site temporary power supply and distribution systems, electrical power tools, equipment and lighting not incorporated into permanent works. Responsibilities in general respecting certain contract positions. I repeat in every statement, but just in one I speak very clearly enough. I'll move fast so that not to waste time. Project manager responsible for overall obligations to provide schedule, all resources, directions, ensuring resolutions. Site manager responsible for overall site prosecution management over works and subcontractors. Site safety officer responsible for overall safety management on site and report to project manager, site manager, corporate safety manager. Construction manager responsible to arrange all safety related resources and provide site team all requirements. Project site engineer responsible to carry out safety issues within sections. Site safety inspector engineer responsible to supervise safety measures on site and control safety issues should bring to site line management to adopt correct measures. Site foreman responsible for compliance of safety measures as standards are as directed. An individual working on site responsible to maintain safety measures in case missing should bring to site team attention. In case missing, it should be brought to site team attention. Then responsibilities are like site manager ensures procedure procedure is being applied for control of all temporary electrics through contractor and subcontractors. Arrange all required resources to meet requirements and for maintenance of system of electrical distribution. Health, safety, and environment manager responsible for development of this procedure and monitoring compliance, and construction manager ensure that sufficient resources are provided to implement this procedure and that procedure is being applied correctly. An electrical instrumentation supervisor shall assign duties under this procedure to persons deemed competent to carry out this procedure and carry out regular audits, minimum monthly, of temporary electrics on site, ensure compliance using checklists whatsoever. And while evaluate the effectiveness and revise the procedure when changes are required, shall provide training and guidance to competent persons assigned for checking and approving temporary electrics. Shall advise the site manager of continual violations and competent electrician what shall I do? The competent electrician shall be entrusted with following responsibilities that say to maintain a register of all electrical equipment repaired and to tag approved equipment prior to use, prohibit use of any electrical equipment that doesn't comply with the standards specified in this procedure. To carry out random inspections of existing certified sorry, carry out random inspections of existing certified equipment to ensure that integrity of system is being maintained. Report back to E&I supervisor on certain concerns noted, and subcontractors shall be required to comply with this procedure. Instructions. These guidelines shall be followed in checking site temporary electrics, power generators. Generators and welding machines shall be maintained in good condition. Maintenance records shall be available upon request. Fuel tanks shall be located in bund areas rated to 150% of total fuel capacity. Area around generators shall be maintained free of oil and diesel spills. Rotating components shall be guarded. Earth leads to all appliances and equipment shall be provided. Outlets shall be in good conditions with no exposed conductors. Distribution. Both shall have earth leakage breakers or residual current device fitted. Terminal points shall be in an enclosure with feed and outlet cables channeled through enclosure via rubber plastic grommets. Distribution panel shall be kept locked and keys held by authorized personnel only. Cables shall be of size and rating suitable for purpose. Earth leads shall be fitted to all distribution boards and metal support frames. Splicing of cables shall not be allowed. Cables shall be extended or repaired using correct industrial fittings. Domestic standard cables and fittings shall not be used on site or not be allowed on site. All cables shall be to a construction or industrial standard and be resistant to damage or wear and tear. Particular attention should be given to cable management to ensure that cables are routed in a manner that does not create an obstruction or trip hazard. Hazard is very risky. Method of such routing shall be conducted in a manner that does not damage or affect integrity of cable. Main isolation points shall be provided in conspicuous and accessible places in workshops, fabrication areas. Machinery shall also have isolation points provided adjacent to equipment. Cable connections shall be done using industrial proof fittings. Distribution panel, boards, circuits, breakers and junction boxes shall be subject to doing scheduled preventative maintenance. Tags certifying good condition, safe for use, shall be attached after such maintenance. Circuits shall be de-energized, supply panels and circuit breakers be locked off and tagged for safe electrical work practices. Prior to some maintenance would be affected. Hand tools. Electrical hand tools and equipment shall comply with following standards, named as shall be compatible with 110 oblique to 40 volts power supply. Should occasion arise with 240 volts has to be used, such tools shall be double insulated. Equipment casing shall be intact. Equipment casing shall be intact with no loose fittings or exposed cables. Plugs fitted shall be of an approved industrial type. Conditions shall be good and tool be subject to preventive maintenance routines. Then there are like equipment checklist and electrical tag system. Attachments are there, temporary electrics equipment checklist, which gives various these considerations as we discussed, the conditioning, housekeeping, etc. This is a list attached with that, and which is not worth speaking here. Then temporary electric tags, etc. was there. We'll give next move to next one, and that is say another one, next chapter, next topic or statement. This is temporary electric supply, and now going to welding and cutting, which is this is next one. So welding and cutting, and same thing here as well. This is scope, purpose, definition, responsibilities, instructions, references, attachments, and scope is it applies to all operations involving use of different types of welding and cutting equipment, their accessories, and related materials, and procedures to outline basic requirements for managing and controlling welding operations. HSC explain main hazards likely to be encountered, assure that procedures be well understood and required safety precautions are implemented. Again, I am speaking is purpose of this procedure is to outline basic requirements for managing and controlling welding operations. HSE explain main hazards likely to be encountered, assure that procedures be well understood and required safety precautions are implemented, and main hazards are welding high temperature causing burns and fire, directly or indirectly evolved fumes liable to cause injury to health, thermal radiation causing burns and eye, arc eye, oxygen insufficiency or enrichment within confined spaces, electric shock, which may also lead to a fall, explosions often fatal during welding of tanks, drums, and vessels, which have not been fully freed of flammable contents and inert gas burst, cause risk of catching fire in vapor, cloud environment conditions. I repeat all these. Main hazards are welding high temperature causing burns and fire. Number one, causing burns and fire because of high temperature welding. High temperature is produced directly or indirectly evolved fumes liable to cause injury to health, thermal radiation causing burns and arc eyes, oxygen insufficiency or enrichment within confined spaces, electric shock, which may also lead to a fall from height, explosions, often fatal during welding of tanks, drums, and vessels. Vessels are very big. It's not simple vessel. If you are an oil, you may understand that. Big vessels, you can say any vessel. There are so many vessels in oil projects and big projects, and like big tanks and big oil tank, and you can say compressors, or you can say whatever big size vessels there is which have not been freed of flammable contents and inert gas burst and cause risk of catching fire in vapor cloud environment. Vapor cloud environment. Maybe you know or maybe you not know on oil projects where refineries exist or byproducts of plants exist or where there's something that creates the vapor of oil, vapor in environment. Means environment or air contains air, gases usually contain air as well as oil vapors or those vapors which create fire, which can create fire by one part of, you can say, spark. It can lead to plant fire through environmental compaction of these concentration of these vapor particles, and that which leads to fire on that plant in that area, and that's very difficult to come with it later on. Now come on to definitions regarding terms. I have already explained once again, I read fast for those who may not be need, it's very important just to repeat every time so that you remember that. When I speak fast, safety means safety of the environment, discipline, support project activities, and company means an organization carrying out a prosecuting project, and contractor means organization that has one project from client, and subcontractor means an organization that has one part of a project from contract organization, client means an organization, and title company and contractual terms that has interested project organization or contractor. Personal means all personnel involved in project site activities, and responsibility means job and project responsibility. Training means training and part of the specific safety topic on job and project site, and management means organization, top, middle, and lower management. Safety manager means a person with job title safety manager applied to certain organization. The project manager means a person such would be entitled to apply for contractor. Engineering means a person appointed by client or client company for an overall project responsibility. An employer means the person on the contract in the CPC contract, welding, cutting, WLC. Welding, cutting, competent person. A person nominated is competent to show overall control of welding and cutting operations and build standards. Whatever standards are known is considered well known. Let's go to responsibility in general respecting certain contract positions. And I said, project manager, as I told, project manager responsible for overall obligations to project gas and all resources, directions, engineering, resolutions, site manager responsible for overall site prosecution, management of works and subcontractors, Site safety officer responsible for overall safety management on site and report to project manager, site manager, corporate safety manager, construction manager responsible to arrange all safety related resources and provide site training with all requirements. The site engineer is responsible to carry out safety issues within section, site safety inspector and engineer responsible to carry supervise site safety measures on site and control safety issues to bring to site line management to adopt correct measures. Site foreman responsible for compliance of safety measures standards or as directed. An individual working on site responsible to maintain safety measures in case missing should bring to site attention. Responsibilities are different now. EPC contract site manager responsible for ensuring that overall requirements are well understood and followed by all parties involved in value cutting process on project. EPC contract HSE manager is responsible for ensuring following requirements such as ensuring that the EPC contractor subcontractor management are familiar with procedures. Whatever WSC operation of the welding and cutting operations carried out on projects are covered by this procedure. Personnel involved with WSC activities on projects are strictly following procedures. Certified welders in relevance to job requirements are available. Certified welders in relevance to job requirements are available. With valid certificates, past certificates not available, welders shall be sent for qualifying welding, not allowed to work without certification. EPC contractor, subcontractor, superintendent, and supervision in charge of work shall be responsible for following that supervision of our activities. Subcontractors shall be carrying out on welding and cutting operations. Ensuring that work method statements and assessments have been carried out as required by nature of fluency processes. A risk study shall be prepared for works in confined spaces prior to individual welding cutting process. Agreeing positions of welding equipment in relation with other running equipments, activities, processes, etc. Ensure that certain work permits that may be required are provided, and then competent person. For purpose of this procedure, whoever subcontract organization involved in WC operation on site shall WC to say welding and cutting operation site shall appoint a competent person approved by EPC contract to have overall contact of WC operation. Competent person duties, assessment and planning of WC activities with regard to selection of safety gear, equipment instructions and supervisions. Ensure that equipment selected has been adequately inspected and maintained. Arrange for replacement in case of equipment breakdown. Ensure that effective procedure is implemented for reporting the facts taking into account remedial actions. Responsibility for organization and control of WC operations, stopping all unsafe operations and reporting all incidents. Act according to requirements in case of fire breakout due to welding effects. Accidents, instructions. Accidents involving failure and damage of WC operations are frequent on construction sites and usually of very severe nature when do occur, and cause factors leading to such accidents are include operators error, inadequate inspections and maintenance of equipment, failure to plan operation and not to adopt precautions, poor connections and existence of obstructions on line right of way, overloading and or misuse of equipment. Equipment, gas flame equipment gases commonly used are oxygen, acetylene and propane. Gas flame equipment, it is for that. Gases commonly used are oxyacetylene, which is oxygen, acetylene, and also propane. Propane is a gas, a byproduct gas that is received from these raw materials from refineries which are treated, and then like we can say ethane, methane, propane, etc. are a kind of byproducts from which plastic is produced. Anyway, oxygen enriched air Oxygen enriched air can be very dangerous because in such atmosphere, flammable material can easily be ignited, burn fiercely, and also difficult to ignite materials, which can become highly combustible. Activities that can cause oxygen enrichment are excessive purging, leaks from equipment, hoses, or you can say from connections, supplies being left on, and flame cutting, which can discharge up to 30% unconsumed oxygen into atmosphere. An oxygen cylinder valves should always be opened slowly, cleaned with a dry cloth or paintbrush, which is free from grease and oil paints. Confined spaces where oxygen enrichment may occur, more than 20.8%, should be regularly checked by a competent person using a suitable oxygen meter. Acetylene cylinders should always be stored upright because of their design assumptions as such. Pressure in hose should not exceed zero point 0.6 bars. Copper pipes must not be used as copper reacts with it and forms an explosive material. Copper acetyl acetylates. LPG propane cylinders on LPG/propane cylinders on release of propane, which is heavier than air, to atmosphere shall readily collect in ducts and drains, etc., posing a risk of explosion, fire, and asphyxiation. Asphyxiation. Fuel gas. Fuel gas and oxygen supplies should be stored separately, at least 6 meters apart in open. If kept inside, stores should be of fire-resistant construction with ventilation provided at top and bottom. Lighting illumination to store should be either from outside store or structure should be made of flame-proof construction. All cylinders in use must be kept secured in either a cylinder trolley or lashed to a suitable support. Acetylene and propane cylinders. Acetylene and propane cylinders must always be used in upright position because liquid may discharge through valve and damage equipment. Also, if a high pressure cylinder falls and its valve breaks, it can behave like a rocket and travel jet considerable distance, causing serious injury and damage. Namely, oxygen cylinders operate at 172 bar. I repeat this para. Acetylene and propane cylinders must always be used in upright position because liquid may discharge through valve and damage equipment. Also, if a high pressure cylinder falls and its valve breaks, it can behave like a rocket and travel of the jet considerable distance, causing serious injury and damage. Oxygen cylinder operates at 172 bar. All cylinder valves must be closed when not in use. Cylinders should not be rolled. Very important, people do it. Cylinders should not be rolled along on ground. If a trolley is not available and or other form of transport must be used. Cylinders must be firmly secured before moving. Cylinders must never be moved with magnets or chain slings. Valve spindles or connections should never be lubricated with oil or grease. Cylinders and fittings must be kept far away from corrosive substances. oil and grease from overhead equipment, electrical welding tools, welding sparks, and other heat sources. Again, cylinders and fittings must be kept far away from corrosive substances, oil and grease from overhead equipment, electrical welding tools, welding sparks, and other heat sources. Cylinders should never be used as a structural means of support or as an electrical earth medium. Regulators, gauges, hoses, and torches must be of correct type for gas being used and should be checked regularly to ensure gas tightness. Spark lighter should be used in preference to matches or smoldering gas, etc. Check hose, valve thread, and cylinder color code. Now, I'm giving few color codes, only three here, just for understanding. Means it causes in few gases. See? It is gas, then cylinder color, valve thread, and hose. It's like that. Oxygen, black, right-handed, blue, hose is blue, hose is blue. Let us say gas is oxygen, cylinder color is black, valve thread is right-handed, hose is blue. Then acetylene, cylinder color is maroon, valve thread is left-handed, hose is red. Propane, cylinder color red, valve thread left-handed, hose is orange. So oxygen is black with blue hose, acetylene maroon with red hose, propane is red with orange hose. Each hose should be secured attached to its connections by means of suitable hose clips or clamps. If hose if hoses have to be connected together, approved couplers should be used. Damaged hoses should be replaced without delay. Leaks must not be searched for using a naked flame, but with a suitable solution of soap and water. Leaks must not be searched using a naked flame, but with suitable solution of soap and water. Flashback arresters. Flashback arresters and hose check valves must be fitted to both oxygen and fuel gas regulators and manifolds. Arrestor shall stop and extinguish a flashback, prevent reverse flow of gas, shut off supply of gas following a flashback. Hose check valve must also be fitted in hose connectors at torch to prevent backflow of gases. So again I repeat this, flashback arresters and hose check valves must be fitted to both oxygen and fuel gas regulators. Flashback arresters and hose check valves must be fitted to both oxygen and fuel gas regulators and manifolds. Arresters shall stop at extinguish flashback, prevent reverse flow of gas, shut off supply of gas following a flashback. Hose check valve must also be fitted in hose connectors attached to prevent backflow of gases. Electric arc equipment. Mobile engines. Mobile engine driven generators should be sighted so as no danger to health arises either from exhaust gases or from high noise levels. It should be located distant from work area and extension leads provided to bring welding electrical supplies to work points. Generators should be located to ensure as far as possible that cables do not constitute a tripping hazard. Where running of cables along ground is unavoidable, this should be neatly arranged and properly protected against pedestrians or vehicle damage. All mechanical guards should be in proper position and a safe means should be provided to start engine. Fuel drums or bulk supply tank must be located in a safely positioned storage area. Engine must be switched off while refueling is done. Fuel tank must be cleaned up and integrity of fuel connections checked. Welding transformers and rectifiers are connected to mains, often 415 volts, from a three-phase supply. All electrical equipment must be installed and maintained by a competent electrician. Welding transformers must be connected to main supply by heavy-duty cables and efficient isolating switch, together with protective fuses or circuit breakers should be located in an accessible position. Fixed transformers should be permanently wired en route, conduit or armored cables used instead. Cases of both portable and stationary sets must be given earth to provide protection to casing parts. Workpiece should, whatever practicable be earth. Workpiece should, worksheet should wherever practicable be earth by an independent earth lead. Earth connection must be capable to carry secondary current without damage. Cable similar to that of welding circuit shall be suitable. A properly constructed and installed electrode holder should be used. It should have insulated handle. Holder should be well balanced and easy to work with. Provision should be made for safely accommodating electrode holder. Provision should be made for safely accommodating electrode holder when not in use. Industrial type plugs and sockets are to be available for this purpose. Electric arcs for welding do not normally exceed 100 volt AC or DC. However, there is still a risk of short circuits and electrical fires. Therefore, all electrical equipment, auxiliary cables, and connections should be checked frequently. Transformers, rectifiers, and associated electrical equipment should be protected from moisture and dust. Dirty connections in particular can overheat and start fires. Protective clothing, headgear, and screens to protect passersby from arc, arc flash are essential. Correct eye shields must always be worn to protect eyes from arc flash. These can be handheld or helmet type shields. Welding and cutting hazards. First is heat and fire risks. Components often retain high heat levels, which should be chalk marked hot HOT if liable to be touched by non-related people. Fires can be started by sparks, or fires can start by sparks, hot like etc. At a distance from point of cutting or welding. Remove flammable materials from vicinity of location. Below operations or use known asbestos form fire resistant sheeting as appropriate. Numerous fatal accidents have occurred where welding or cutting was attempted on drums, tanks, and vessels, which had not been fully drained out of their inflammable contents. Inert gas burst out from such acts. Fumes and lack of oxygen. All welding and cutting operations produce airborne contaminants. A complex of combinations of particles, gases can be involved depending on type of welding apparatus being used. Metal being joined, separated, fluxes used and where metals involved had been either painted or plated. Dangerous levels of fumes, lack of oxygen, or oxygen enrichment can occur, particularly during welding in confined spaces. Again, dangerous levels of fumes, lack of oxygen, or oxygen enrichment can occur, particularly during welding in confined spaces. In infrared IR and ultraviolet UV rays, electric arcs radiate both rays. Electric arcs radiate both rays. This is IR and UV. UV radiation in particular can be hazardous even when reflected. It can affect skin and eyes in same way as sun ultraviolet rays do. Right kind of protective clothing is necessary. Approved goggles and protective clothing made from dense materials such as chrome, leather. I repeat this para. Ultraviolet UV radiation in particular can be hazardous even when reflected. It can affect skin and eyes in same way as sun ultraviolet transmission. Right kind of protective clothing is necessary. Approved goggles and protective clothing made from dense materials such as chrome, leather. Ultraviolet radiations, UV radiation also causes arc eye, a painful but temporary form of conjunctivitis. UV radiation or ultraviolet radiation decomposes some chlorinated hydrocarbons, degreasing solvents, which may form toxic gas, phosgene even, located at a distance from arc. Therefore, important is to ensure that degreased items are thoroughly dried before welding, that such solvents are not used anywhere near welding operations. Grinding, chipping, and de-slag. Preparation and repairing of welds usually involves grinding and chipping. With some types of welds, hot slag can fly off because of contraction as metal cools. Eye protection should be used. If it is necessary, inspect a weld before it becomes cold. Hearing protection may also be required during above operation. Hazards, site hazards. Working overhead. Sparks, hot slag, and hot metal. May hot metal from cutting operations can cause burns and also sets light to inflammable material in vicinity of overhead welding and cutting operations. Appropriate fire extinguisher must also be available at welding work point location. Working in confined spaces. Where possible, oxygen and fuel gas should not run into confined spaces. Cutting and welding equipment, including supply tubes, should be removed when not in use. Fitting operations associated with welding can be very noisy within confined spaces. Laying sandbags on components can reduce reverberating noise. Protective clothing. Purpose-designed protective clothing. Purpose-designed protective clothing must always be worn when welding or cutting using oxygen, acetylene, or propane activities go on. Correct gas welders' goggles should always be worn to prevent injuries to eyes. Face masks and goggles must be fitted with filters to protect eyes from intense light and ultraviolet radiation. Where fumes cannot be readily dispersed, should air-stream helmets and face masks using an independent airline supply of fresh air be provided. Leather aprons, jackets, and gauntlets should be worn to protect against spark and molten metal burns. Welding overalls should be made of flame retardant materials and be designed to avoid spark traps. Correct footwear should include spats to prevent hot particles from falling into boots or shoes. Then we go to next chapter, that is about working at heights and fall prevention. So welding done is very not very large scope because I did not discuss pressure welding, all of the welding. It's normal which is discussed, and that's one advanced study of safety, which is just this next chapter for general knowledge, and that is working at height and fall prevention concepts. It is same indexes, scope, purpose, definitions, responsibilities, instructions, references, etc. And scope is important here. This procedure applies to all personnel employed on project and shall be applied at locations where work is carried out at elevations in excess of 2 meters above grade level. Hence, it applies onto those areas where work is done or carried out at heights more than 2 meters from working platform or working ground. So this is for those that's called high, working at high levels. It can be 2 meters onwards up to whatever height, be 15 meters or 100 meters. The purpose is Purpose of this procedure is to provide guidelines on measures to be taken for personnel working at height. Working at height is a common requirement on whatever projects of whatever sort. A small house construction requires such safety provisions that are generally neglected or overlooked. All projects such as residential, commercial, industrial, oil sector, and others, accepting rounds, accepting roads require implementation of stands as included within this statement. Very significant, very significant is this procedure from safety maintenance status since cases have been registered in past of collapses leading to tolls. It has been experienced that on common project not controlled by professionals, non-expert workers do not care about safety precautions and just working at higher levels, thinking and assuming that no problem shall be faced. It is forgotten by neglecting personnel that it requires fraction of a fall from height and also it takes minutes to die. Definitions. Safety as a safety and company and contractor and subcontractor, client, etc. etc. All I explained and no need to do it again. So I'll go to responsibilities. Responsibilities are all same. Let me speak that better. Responsibility more important than titles. So project manager responsible for overall obligations to provide scheduling, all resources, direction, engineering, resolutions. Site manager responsible for overall site prosecution management over works and subcontractors. Site safety officer responsible for overall safety management on site and support to project manager, site manager, corporate safety manager. Construction manager responsible to arrange all safety related resources and provide site team of requirements. Project site engineer responsible to carry out safety issues within section. Site safety inspector engineer responsible to supervise safety measures on site and control safety issues. Should be to site line management to adopt correct measures. Site foreman responsible for compliance of safety measures as standards are directed. An individual working on site responsible to maintain safety measures in case missing should bring to site team attention. And then responsibilities are there as before I said contractor, subcontractor, etc. Subcontractor and jobless. So responsibilities of those people, contractor, subcontractor. Well, this is same as before. So well, it's better to start this as contractor. So this is something I think this is known, maybe just repeat it. Shall contractor and subcontractor supervision shall ensure workforce is complying to this procedure on works. Number one, ensure workforce is complying to this procedure on works, developing start cards and job hazard analysis. Statement required. Sorry, developing start cards and job hazard analysis statements required, ensuring that all personnel are adequately trained to operate above ground level, ensuring that line supervision competent by training and experience shall be provided for control of work above ground level, ensuring that minimum required number of personnel are assigned to minimum exposure to risk from fall from heights. Provide employees personnel with relevant personal protective equipment so that work can be carried out in a safe manner. Ensuring edge protection is provided at possible locations where personnel could be susceptible to fall when working at height more than 2 meters. Ensuring personnel in vicinity of above ground work are not subject to risk of falling objects. Contractors of contract structural superintendents shall ensure that no work is being carried out on ground or on structural steel until it has been made safe with gratings, handrails, kick plates in position, and overall structural torque. Instructions being primary means of achieving safe working conditions when working at heights is to provide adequate, sufficient access and egress arrangements with suitable provision of working platforms at place of work. The toolbox stock shall be delivered to each person at height. Following assessment of risk, supervisors shall instruct personnel on procedures and precautions to be followed with when working at height. Approved full body safety harnesses should only be used for safe working where working conditions do not allow to use a safe working platform. Fall protection equipment. Personnel working above ground level on incomplete structures, scaffolds, etc., shall be provided with and use appropriate fall protection equipment and PPE. Manufacturer's instructions must be observed when using fall arrest equipment. A competent person must regularly inspect fall protection equipment at least every 6 months. Should also be maintained properly in good condition. Should be satisfactory for use during construction period. Effective action must be taken to rectify whatever defects observed following inspections. Fall protection equipment which has been deployed must be examined by a competent person, not and instructed to be either repaired or destroyed if action so requires. Again, I repeat this fall protection equipment which has been deployed must be examined by a competent person and instructed to be either repaired or destroyed if action so requires. Fall protection device, fall protection devices and systems shall not be used for any other purpose than intended for. Safety harnesses, lanyard systems. Sorry. Fall protection such as safety harnesses and lanyard systems must be used in situations where it is impracticable to provide primary systems. Whenever whenever full body safety harnesses are used, these must be secured to an anchorage point, running line, or arrestor device. Okay. Full safety harnesses with high, full safety harnesses with thigh and shoulder straps. With thigh and shoulder straps shall be worn. Lanyard and anchorage points should limit the maximum drop within 2 meters. Note, safety belts are generally considered as presenting an additional hazard to user wearer due to an impact that a fall imposes on sternum and chest, sternum and chest of an individual, which may cause injury. Absorbers should be provided with harness system in order to reduce shock impact loading in event of a fall case. Running lines. Running line systems can be used to provide a secure anchorage point for safety harnesses. This should be installed and maintained by competent persons. These systems must be designed for loads which lines are expected to strain. Line must be 1. Supported on anchorages that are sufficiently strong, or 2. Securely fixed to these anchorages and are of sufficient size and strength to support a falling person or persons. Self-reeling arresters devices. Inertia reels can say. Inertia reel devices directly attached to safety harnesses and anchor points provide good protection against falls and allow flexibility of movement. Self-recline arrestor devices, inertia reel devices. These devices shall be securely anchored using shackles or carabiners, carbiners attached to wire rope slings or webbing slings. Regular inspections and checks of these devices shall be carried out in order to ensure that they operate efficiently. Should be satisfactory. Should be satisfactory for use during construction period. Effective actions must be taken to rectify defects observed during inspections. Fall protection equipment which has been deployed must be examined by a competent person and repaired or destroyed as necessary. Fall protection devices and systems shall not be used for any other purpose other than intended for. Scaffolds. Scaffolds are provided for purpose of working at height adjacent to building inside or outside. More than 2-meter height requires scaffolding systems all over. Working platforms are constructed temporarily at such heights. Access steps of ladders are provided for access to work platforms. Scaffolding arrangements are described elsewhere as I did, shall be complied with in conformance to system requirements. Ladders. Ladders should be used primarily as a means of access and not as working platforms. If work is required to be carried out using ladders, personnel shall use and wear approved safety harnesses for fall protection. Ladder, ladder should be suited for purpose for which it is intended to be used and be free from defects. Only ladders made from non-conductive materials shall be used for work on or near live electrical installations. Ladders shall be set on a firm level base. Makeshift props should not be used to gain extra height or to extend level. Ladders should not ladders shall be set on a firm level base. Makeshift props should not be used to gain extra height or to extend level. Ladders should not cause a hazard by locating them where they may be struck or dislodged. Ladders shall not cause a hazard by locating them where they may be struck or dislodged. Barriers should be placed around foot of ladder where necessary. Ladders should, wherever possible, be secured at top and bottom by lashing. In cases where ladder is unable to be secured, someone should be instructed to stand, grip ladder at bottom point with one foot pressed at bottom rung. Permitted only if ladder is shorter than 5 meters. Ladders should not rest against any fragile surface or fitting. Ladders must extend at least 1.05 meters above landing level unless some other suitable handhold is available. Both hands must be free when ascending to or descending from ladders. Tools and materials should be carried using either a suitable shoulder bag or belt or be hoisted up later. Ladder should be pitched lean with a 1 in 4 incline or 75 degrees to horizontal. Personnel using ladders must be trained and instructed for hazards associated with their use, and measures to be adopted to prevent ladder accidents. Temporary work, elevated work platform walkways. Temporary work platforms, walkways, namely those constructed from lightweight staging, must be adequately supported and secured in order to prevent undue movement. Edge guard protection must be provided on temporary work platforms or walkways. Safety required to whenever personnel gain access onto temporary work platform walkways. Personnel working from mobile elevated work platforms MEWP, man riding skips and cradles shall attach their safety harnesses to a secure anchorage point. Again, I'm telling you, so mobile one, personal working from mobile elevated work platforms, MEWPs, man riding skips and cradles shall attach their safety harnesses to a secure anchorage point. Personnel who are not fully protected by complete platforms must use either safety harnesses or walkways or are required to carry out the work below guardrail level. Mobile work platforms. Drivers of mobile platforms, namely cherry pickers, scissors, lifts, etc., shall be specifically authorized to operate platforms and be trained to be competent on type of lift to be operated. Personnel riding or working from mobile work platforms must wear an approved safety harness securely connected to a suitable anchor point on platform. Mobile work platforms should be operated on level and firm ground conditions in order to eliminate possibility of overturning. There must be adequate clearance in order to prevent mobile work platform colliding with adjacent structures. There must be adequate clearance in order to prevent mobile work platform colliding with adjacent structures. Overhead power lines. or other vehicles, etc. Cones and warning lights should be erected around machine where necessary. A competent person should regularly conduct on-mobile work, platforms inspections and maintenance. Safe working loads and permitted number of persons on platform must not exceed as indicated. Mast climbing work platforms (MCWPs). Mast climbing work platforms should only be erected by skilled and competent persons and be used by trained operatives. Should be inspected daily before use. A competent person should regularly inspect MCWP, mast climbing work platform, and records of inspection booked. MCWPs should be clearly marked with safe working load and permitted number of persons allowed on platform at each configuration. Operators should not carry Operators should not carry out repairs and adjustments to this unless qualified and so authorized. Safe means of access to platform should be provided at its lowest level. This may be done by a short fixed ladder, a raised platform, or by control arrangements, which allow platform to be brought down to ground level. Ground conditions must be checked for adequate bearing. A safety barrier around must be erected to exclude personnel from area below platform. Then come to personal carriers. A skip or cradle used for man lifting must conform with following requirements. I'm talking of cradles. Cradles, these are used to clean glasses on high levels where cladding is fixed on buildings more than aluminum cladding with glasses and curtain walls where there is no direct access from outside. For that cradle, or in Hindi we call it jhula, that is used. So let's do SWL says safe working load should be clearly marked on skip or cradle together with maximum number of persons it can carry. Guardrail height must be 1.05 meter to 1.15 meters. Toe hand height must be a minimum of 150 mm and a mid-rail must also be fitted. Crane carrying out main lifting must be fitted. I'm talking of crane now, in between. Crane carrying out man lift must be fitted with a dead man's handle and powered lowering facilities. Men must never be lowered in free fall conditions. Personnel working out of man riders must wear an approved safety harness and attach their lanyards to a collar, chain, sling which is attached to crane hook. Skeletal steel open structures. This section deals with fall protection. When personnel are required to gain access to move across and work on skeletal steel open structures such as pipe racks. Movement across or work being carried out on some elevated areas, which is not designed either as a walkway or working platform, namely pipe, cable tray, etc. Personal working or moving across elevated skeletal, steel, open structures more than 2 meters above ground level shall wear an approved safety harness and secure their lanyards either to suitable fall arrest equipment or structure itself. This includes both vertical and horizontal access. Vertical access on these structures shall be gained by means of properly positioned and secured access ladders. If more than one ladder length is required to gain access, they shall they may, must have a staggered they must have a staggered side by side overlap and not be lashed together in one long strong straight run, which creates a dangerously located uneven step in step out overlap. Personnel must avoid securing lanyards, cable trays, conduit, and small bore screwed pipes. Work area shall be surveyed to ensure that damage can be incurred damage can be incurred to install equipment prior to work commencing. Work area shall be surveyed to ensure that no damage can be incurred to install equipment prior to work commencing. Sorry. Permanent structures, stairs, cages, and ladders. Personnel working on moving across permanent decks, floors, and walkways which do not present fall hazards are not required to wear safety harnesses provided that they can access the structures by using fully completed stairs or using personal hoists. Again, I read this. Personal working on moving across permanent decks, floors, and walkways which do not present fall hazards are not required to wear safety harnesses provided that they can access these structures by using fully completed stairs or using personal hoists. Personal working or moving across incomplete structures prone to risk of falling from more than 2 meters height must wear and use approved safety harnesses attached to fall arrest equipment on structures. Temporary or permanent guardrails and floors covers shall be installed as soon as possible in order to eliminate risk of falling. Sorry. Temporary and permanent guardrails and floor covers shall be installed as soon as possible in order to eliminate risk of falling. Only authorized and competent personnel shall work from incomplete structures on installation duly with provided fall arrest measures. Permanent stairs shall be used to access or egress elevated work platforms. Installation and completion of permanent stairs shall be scheduled a priority. Personnel in climbing ladders must keep both hands free. Carrying of items by hands whilst climbing ladders is prohibited. Structural steel erection. It's a very important element. It's a very important component on plants because thousands and thousands of tons of structural steel is erected where there is no RCC structure for pipelines, for buildings such as workshops or for some other building sheds. Also, many structures are there, pipelines or bridges are there on various locations in the same plant means structures is correct. It's very important element for whatever plant you're talking of, big plant or small plant, wherever it's done. And this is very important. And if it was not expert of this, then well, the structural steel action. Personal erecting structural steel work must be provided with and use suitable fall protection, including safety harnesses, running lines, self-reeling arrestor devices, etc. Climbing of columns and walking on structural steel work members is prohibited. The straddling steel work is permitted provided adequate fall protection is utilized during this operation. Area blow steel extraction work, area blow steel erection work must be roped off and have warning signs displayed. All tools being used at height must be secured with restraining ropes to prevent them from falling down onto others. Practice of throwing tools and bolts at height shall not be permitted. All steel being raised and landed, placed by crane, shall be fitted with tag lines for ease of control. It is particularly important to ensure that all personnel know and understand methods of work necessary for ensuring that they stay secured all times when working at height. Numerous fatalities, numerous fatalities have occurred through personnel unclipping, unsecuring themselves to access their work location. Adverse results due to such activity without use of harness have been observed, leading to hazardous results. Consequences must be emphasized or explained during activity briefings and training sessions. Reinforced steel concrete form work. This is also very responsible way to understand this reinforced steel concrete form work because it constitutes another high cost and high quantity element on all plants and non-plants areas of projects. Personnel working at more than 2 meter height above ground level on walls, columns, and on concrete fascia, suspended slabs, formwork must be provided with adequate fall protection, namely scaffold, safety harnesses, etc. Specific job safety analysis should be carried out on such work activities. Personnel must receive specific instruction about equipment to be used and fall protection measures to be utilized during work. Crane rigging, de-rigging. It's another one. Personnel engaged in crane rigging or de-rigging must wear and use suitable and required fall arrest equipment, namely safety harnesses, retractable lifelines, etc. Movement in elevated areas must be minimized by use of ladders and, if required, mobile elevated working platforms must be used. Walking across cords and struts of crane homes without using continuous fall protection, such as running line, is prohibited. Specific toolbox talks on fall protection measures must be given, delivered to all personnel involved with crane rigging or de-rigging prior to work commencing. Rigging and material handling, offloading trailers, ensure that load is stable, balanced before commencing to unload trailer. Inspect the trailer. Inspect the trailer beds for holes or weak decking. Do not stand between any load being hoisted and lifting appliance being used. Use deck lines to control loads. Always stand clear of loads being lifted. Before unloading pipe spools, ensure that pipes are stable before removing retaining straps. Protective, protective gloves must be worn all times. Rigging large loads. Rigging of and lifting of loads at height requires personnel to utilize fall protection. Work shall be planned and accordingly ladders for access and egress provided. Fall protection can be provided by means of self-reeling arrestor devices during rigging of large loads. Use of mobile elevated work platform can reduce risk of fall during rigging operations. Now it's a checklist. PRE, pre-works checklist, the simple one. It's not very long, the simple one is this. We need to consider has a risk assessment in form of start car or job hazard analysis JHA being carried out? And the answer yes or no. We have to check ourselves. Have all necessary permits been obtained? We have to check. Is all access equipment of adequate design? Has it been correctly installed? We have to ensure. Have all personnel associated with work been briefed and understanding safety requirements have been understood? That's another one. Have all personnel carrying and work been provided with correct personal protective equipment? That's also a check. And this is pre-works checklist. And now I'll go to another one, and that is abrasive wheels. I'll take this 42, and it's also abrasive wheels. And if time's there, I'll take next one. Well, we'll start with this abrasive wheels, since the same abrasive wheels is a scope, purpose, and scope, purpose, definition, responsibility, instructional references, and scope. It applies to all works involving use of abrasive wheels. Its purpose of this procedure is to ensure that those responsible for handling and use of abrasive wheels are familiar with required safety precautions. These are required on many applications of grinding vertically as well as horizontally, power-operated grinders, table-mounted grinders, post-welding reaming of welds, or certain applications requiring such abrasive wheels. I repeat it. Purpose of this procedure is to ensure that all those responsible for handling and use of abrasive wheels are familiar with required safety precautions. These are required on many applications of grinding vertically as well as horizontally, power operated grinders, table mounted grinders, post welding, rimming of welds, or certain applications requiring such abrasive wheels. And definitions. As all I explained before, same definition of safety, company, etc., etc., etc. No necessary indication of that. And then it is responsibilities as before I said, but I'll read responsibilities. So it is project managers, site managers, site safety managers, construction, all same different multi repeat that. Mm. Then responsibilities are there as usual, and then I'll go further for that. Not why to waste time. I'll just say EPC is a EPC contractor, HSE manager responsible for ensuring EPC contractors for the abrasive activities, operations carried out on project have been covered by this procedure, and that subcontractor superintendent supervisions of charge shall be responsible for following supervision of subcontractors carrying out abrasive operations, ensuring that work method statements or risk assessments have been carried out as required by nature of operation, ensure equipment is adequately of right capacity, integrity, and safe for intended purpose, stopping unsafe operations and regular inspections, etc. Instructions, accidents involving failure and damage of abrasive wheel equipment are frequent. Accidents involving failure and damage of abrasive wheel equipment are frequent on construction sites and usually results very severely when they do occur. Cause factors leading to such accidents include operator error, inadequate inspections and maintenance of equipment, failure to plan operation and apply necessary safety precautions, overworking and misuse of equipment. Selection of wheels. Selection Selecting correct wheel for job is equally important for efficient production and for working safety. As a practical rule, soft wheels are considered more suitable for hard materials, while hard wheels are suitable for soft materials. With wheels of unsuitable structure for job, loading may result, that is, abrasive wheel abrasive wheel face becomes clogged with particles of material being ground. A wheel may also be too hard. A wheel may also be too hard and too fine, resulting in glazing. Operator is then tempted to press work piece too hard on wheel, causing it to break. Best policy in selecting grinding plant is to consult manufacturers of machines and abrasive wheels and not to experiment without having competent professional advice. Abrasive wheels characteristics and marking. In process of manufacture of abrasive wheels, abrasive and bonding materials are controlled to produce wheels of varying qualities required for an almost unlimited range of grinding conditions and requirements. Variable elements for abrasive wheels manufacturer and standard symbols that are used to designate them are prefix is W, abrasive is A, grain size 46, grade K, structure 5, bond types V, suffix 17. Prefix manufacturer's abrasive type symbol is use optional. Abrasive aluminum oxide A, silicon carbide C, etc. Grain size. Coarse, then medium, then fine, then very fine. Coarse say 8. Medium 30. Say 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 20, 24. This is coarse. And then 30, 36, 46, 54, 60 is medium. Fine is 80, 100, 120, 150, 180. And very fine. 220, 240, 280, 320, 400, 500, 600. This is, you can say, manufacturer's abrasive type symbols are there, and abrasive aluminum oxide and grain size and giving is very important for selection of these abrasive wheels, which vary from 8 to 600 in this table. 8 to 24 for coarse, 30 to 60 for medium, and 80 to 180 fine. Very fine is 220 to 600 in various grades. And let's say grade scale A through Z. Structure dense 1 through 8 to open, 9 through 15, etc. Bond type is V is verified, B is resinoid, R is rubber, E is shellac, S is silicate, suffix is manufacturers, wheel type symbol, use optional. Mounting of wheels. Mounting of wheels, wheel speed. Before mounting wheel, ensure that speed of spindle does not exceed maximum permissible speed marked on wheel. Flanges. Flanges. Every abrasive wheel must be mounted between suitable flanges, which should be not less than 1/3 diameter of wheel. Flanges should be recessed on side next to wheel to ensure that clamping pressure is not exerted near hole. Flanges for wheels with large holes should not be recessed, but corners of wheel seating should be undercut. Inner driving flange should be keyed, screwed, shrunk, or otherwise secured to spindle and flange bearing. Surface should run through with spindle. Flanges should be made of mild steel or other material of equal or higher strength and rigidity. Flange bearing surfaces should be machined through, and there should be no exposed rough edges or surfaces. Washers. Purpose of washer is to distribute clamping pressure evenly on wheel and reduce wearing on flanges. Washers should be used between wheels and flanges wherever clamping surfaces are flat. Care should be taken to ensure that each washer is free from crinkles. If a wheel has been used before, pieces of old washers or loose grains of abrasive should be carefully removed. Securing wheels. In case of a single central spindle nut, tighten out sufficiently to ensure that flanges drive wheel, preventing slip. When flanges are clamped by a series of screws, ensure and tighten them uniformly. Starting new wheel. Before running wheel, make sure that guard is in proper adjustment. Rotate wheel by hands or make sure that it is clear over entire round. New wheels should be run free at full operating speed for a short period before these are used. During trial run, everyone should stand clear. Now it's a question of some is on mounting precautions. Before mounting, all wheels should be closely inspected and rung to make sure that these have not been mishandled in transit or storage. Only competent and authorized persons should carry out wheel mounting. Bush, if included, should not project beyond sight of wheel. Care should be taken to ensure that all wheels, washers, and flanges are free from foreign matter. All burrs should be taken off flanges. Washers of compressible material not over 1 over 16 of an inch thickness should be fitted between wheels and its flanges, where surfaces are flat. Wrinkles in washers should be avoided. Washers are not recommended to taper and dovetail wheels. When tightening nuts, care should be taken to tighten them just enough to hold wheel firmly. Excessive clamping pressure is liable to damage wheel. Nuts should be tightened by hand pressure on a spanner and never by a hammer and chisel or similar means. When flanges are clamped by a series of bolts, care should be taken to screw up each bolt uniformly. All bolts should first be run up with fingers and then tightened in pattern formation afterward. Guards. Guards shall be securely attached to body of machine for straight sided wheels. Maximum angular exposure of abrasive periphery and sides shall not exceed 180 degree. Again, for straight sided wheels, maximum angular exposure of abrasive periphery and sides shall not exceed 180 degree. Guards for straight grinding machine should be provided with a front curtain which shall be securely fastened to body of machine. For cup wheels, back face and periphery shall be enclosed and guard shall be adjusted to compensate for wear of wheel. For depressed center grinding wheels, wheel shall have a maximum angular exposure of 180 degree and guard be so located as to work between operator and wheel during use. Clearances between inside of guard and periphery of unused wheel shall not be greater than 5% of nominal wheel diameter. Guards have four main functions: to contain wheel parts in event of a burst, to protect wheel against advertent damage from shock, etc., to prevent as far as possible operators coming into contact with wheel, to prevent an oversized wheel being found. Rest for wheels. Where there is a rest provided with for supporting workpiece, it shall at all times while wheel is in motion be properly secured and adjusted so as to be as close as practicable to exposed part of abrasive wheel. Every rest provided must be of substantial construction and properly maintained. Training and dressing. Accidents may be caused by operators' fingers being trapped between rest and wheel. Also be caused also be caused if work done is itself trapped. Although such accidents are more frequently caused by bad rest adjustment, their possibility is minimized by frequently maintaining to keep wheel in concentric position on its spindle. A wheel out of round shall cause excessive vibration and periodic knocking of work against wheel, which would invariably result in damage to either abrasive wheel or spindle bearings. Condition of wheel surface such as loading, glazing, which reduces cutting action, may induce operator to compensate by additional pressure of work on abrasive wheel. Dressing a wheel is therefore essential for efficient production, and frequent light dressings are generally preferable to occasional deep dressing. Important precautions. Dressing tools should be rigidly mounted at proper angle and direction. With a dresser of revolving cutter type, with a dresser of revolving cutter type, lugs to be provided as an anchor. Haphazard methods of dressing, such as using chipping hammer, or even striking work against wheel, should be forbidden. Care should be taken to reduce possibility of dressing tools jamming between abrasive wheels and rest or other fixed part of machine. While trying or dressing, operators should be properly protected by hoods or screens. Available are many types of abrasive wheels, dressers, and various methods by which these operations may be carried out. Balance, wheel balance. Makers within normal limits balance abrasive wheels for some operations. Closer limits of balance are required. This is obtained by various methods, such as insertion of lead, use of heavy paint, or by an arrangement of sliding weights. Out of balance condition causes chatter, which can be detrimental to work, and if it is excessive, it may result in damage to wheel and spindle. Generally, larger wheel and faster speed requires hyper importance of correct balancing. Conditions of floors. Floors surrounding every fixed machine or area where portable tools are used shall be maintained in good and even condition. Should be kept clear of loose material and prevented from becoming slippery. Approved cautionary notice regarding hazards arising from use of abrasive wheels shall be affixed, signed, and erected in every room where grinding or cutting is carried out. Duties of labor. No employed person using an abrasive wheel shall willfully misuse or remove its guard, willfully or misuse any protection, flanges, or other appliance provided in pursuance of regulations or any rest for a workpiece. Every employed person shall make adequate and proper use of guards, protection flanges, and other appliances provided with in pursuance of these regulations and of rest for work, peace, and if someone discovers certain defects, shall forthwith report respecting such defects to foreman, manager, or other responsible authority person. Eye protection. Persons carrying out dry grinding operations or screwing or dressing an abrasive wheel must wear suitable eye protection or be protected by suitable transparent screens. Cautionary notice. Approved cautionary notice of hazards arising from such abrasive wheels shall be affixed in every room where grinding or cutting is carried out. There are references and attachments, and I'm just going to other one. This is 22. Now I take other one, this one now. This is also a part of that. This is, I would say, just because of this time, some more times, I think 23 construction environment. It's also very, very important. Construction environment will start this. This is environmental control and waste disposal, a very, very burning issue these days, a general and common one, which is having high degree of significance that must be taken care of by each professional and non-professional person, by each citizen around the world. This is environmental control and waste disposal. Same contents, scope, purpose, definitions, responsibilities, instructions, environmental friendly practices. Actually, this chapter was required to be taken in next talk, but no problem. I think there's some time left. I want to utilize that time for this, and I'll again include in next one for purpose of repetition because this is a very, very significant topic. The scope is adherence to requirements in environmental control procedure shall minimize impact of construction activities to land, air, water, flora and fauna. These requirements apply to all construction activities and applicable locations throughout camps, preparation of access ways and work areas associated with installations under control of EPC subcontractor or contractor. Environmental control procedure describes requirements during construction for spill prevention and response, waste management, dust control, traffic, noise and vibration control. Responsibilities, management, coordination, and review of these environmental activities are to be implemented by site manager in coordination with quality requirement, quality control department, and HSE department. Purpose: Environmental Control Procedure (ECP) describes environmental compliance activities for contractors, construction personnel, and their subcontracted entities. Objectives of ECP are to define specific environment activities required to comply with contract HSC specifications and other applicable environment documents. Mitigate environmental impact of construction activities. Comply with local environmental protection practices. Contractor construction team shall comply with this procedure during construction, start up and initial operation of system. Each contractor involved in construction activity shall be provided with a copy of this procedure and required to comply with its contents. Periodic reviews of procedure shall be performed to confirm its adequacy and procedure regularly updated as required. Definitions are same as before: safety, company, contractor, etc. etc. I don't go through that in this talk. Next one I'll do. Then we go through the same employer, etc. etc. Then I say responsibilities as usual: project manager, site manager, site ID. Responsibility is better to know. Site ID become fast. Responsibility in general, respecting certain contract positions. Project manager is responsible to overall the obligations to provide schedule, resources, directions, engineering resolutions. Site manager responsible for overall site prosecution, management of all works and subcontractors. Site safety officer required for overall safety management site and report to project manager, site manager, corporate safety manager. Construction manager is responsible to arrange all safety-related resources and provide site team all requirements. Project site manager, engineer responsible to carry out safety issues within sections. Site safety inspector engineer responsible to supervise safety measures on site and control safety issues should bring to site line management to adopt correct measures. Site foreman responsible for compliance of safety measures as standards or as directed. An individual worker in site responsible to maintain Safety measures in case missing should bring to site team attention. Now responsibility. The EPC contractor site manager has an overall responsibility to ensure that environmental control described in this ECP are effectively implemented on site in coordination with QR, QC. I say QR because it's quality requirements, it's QA actually, calling QR just for impressing it, quality requirement and QC manager and site HSE manager. Instructions. Health, safety, and environment impact assessment. Health, safety, and environment impact assessment prepared includes an assessment of impact of construction activities and construction camp on environment and suggest measures to mitigate impact. Measures to mitigate impact. Suggestions made are summarized here, along with control measures that EPC contractor shall be undertaking. I'll go one by one. It's different type of table. Table 1 is environment, issues, and EPC contractor control measures. Says first column is environmental issues, then suggestions, and other one is this is EPC contractor control measures. I'll just blow it down so that I can take it because this is a landscape page. It's not here, you know. It's landscape one. So I read it like this now. I have blown it down, Yes, now it is environmental issue. Contaminated land. Hmm. Contaminated land, it says contamination of land by some accidental oil spills or some effluent during construction activities. What is suggested is soil from area soil from areas of contamination shall be removed and disposed of to an approved landfill location. And control measure is EPC contractor shall contact the local authorities for disposing contaminated soil in approved landfill. Protection of groundwaters and wadis. This is environmental issue. Protection of groundwaters and wadis. Groundwaters and other water sources like wadis are utilized for agriculture and cattle feeding by local population and for weeds and plants growing in area. This water source has to be protected from pollution from construction activities. And suggestion is, wash water runoff requires a system of temporary impounding and settling to remove silt before returning to ground. This shall be carried out during site preparation. Site preparation is activity on major projects. Whether we prepare site means just to start work from there, we call it site preparation. Then sewage must be treated and only after that allowed to run out to ground. Sewage treatment plants shall be installed and be operational along with construction camp at isolated locations. Local methods shall be followed. And control measure is silt retention trap shall be constructed. A silt retention trap shall be constructed at all wash water facilities. This retention shall allow settling of sand, silt, and grease, and only clear water shall run off to ground. Sewage treatment plant shall be installed at each camp to control sewage water outlets. Then also site preparation. That's the site preparation is an environmental issue and site preparation now activity, and it is that suggestions. Contractors have a traffic management system in place with temporary haul road and traffic segregation where practicable. Thus, the control measures to be implemented, roads shall be maintained to reduce dust as practical. And its temporary haul roads shall be constructed and kept as clear of sand as is practicable. Thus, suppression measures shall be used to control dust, such as water sprays. Then dust shall be exacerbated. That dust shall be exacerbated by site activities such as stripping and vehicle movements. Areas experiences sandstorm, and is you can say suggestions are temporary roads shall be constructed for site traffic. Water spray browsers shall be used. Then top layer of fine dust shall be graded away from traffic route as practical. Fine dust shall be graded away. Water shall be sprayed to suppress flying dust. Noise. Excessive noise level created by constant operation of plants and equipment. Session is regular inspection of all equipment working on project shall be done in accordance with manufacturer's recommendations so as to maintain minimized noise levels. Then controls. All equipment shall be maintained acceptable noise level as recommended by manufacturer. Noise protection equipment shall be used by personnel if required to work in high noise level areas. Construction camp. Construction camp. Camp shall provide accommodation, catering, and sanitation for approximately all workforce personnel. Waste arising from these camps shall be significant, which affect the traffic to and from camps. Sewage treatment plant to be installed in camps, that is called STP. Traffic segregation must be implemented. Thus, the suppression methods must be implemented. Sewage treatment plant, this is because control, I'm telling you control. Sewage treatment plants shall be installed and maintained to meet requirements arising from sewage at camps. Heavy traffic shall be separated from light vehicles and separate access roads maintained. Grading road and water, spraying regularly to control dust. Oil spillage. Oil spillage. Possible chances of oil leaks and spills from fuel refilling tankers, storage tanks, and from breakdown of equipment shall contaminate grounds and pollute adjacent groundwater. Suggestion: use of bundled storage for oil or fuel products. for containing accidental leaks. Availability of recovery facilities for any leaked pollutants. Use of drip trays while refueling or handling fuel or oil products. And controls oil and fuel products to be stored in bonded areas for containing accidental leaks. Recovery materials like absorbents, sand, and sandbags to be available in vicinity to immediate use. Drip trays shall be used to contain leaks while handling oil or refueling. Recovered contaminated soil and associated materials shall be collected and dispensed of in safe method. Spill prevention and response. EPC contractor believes in prevention first and foremost by keeping commitment and resorting to best practices throughout construction. This is just blow up, please. So, still as EPC contractor believes in prevention first and foremost by keeping commitment and resorting to best practices throughout the construction. However, in the event of an unforeseen natural disaster or man-made incident that results in a threat to environment, contractors shall be prepared to respond in a timely and effective manner that would limit environmental damage to a minimum. In many cases, major pollution incidents can be prevented if appropriate pollution prevention measures are taken at an early stage. Planning is a key to success. Both preventive measures and incident response strategy are addressed as well. Spill prevention. Procedures to be carried out to reduce the possibility of a spill that could be harmful to environment or to the health and safety of staff. Appropriate precautions to be taken so far as is reasonable to protect storage areas and equipment from vandalism. Stores of potentially polluting material to be situated on an impervious base surrounded by an impervious bund capable of containing a volume 50% greater than store. Valves shall be checked periodically on routine HSE inspections to ascertain that they are closed. Special consideration shall be given to certain leakages arising from surface runoff around temporary stockpiles of materials. All stationary diesel and petrol operated construction equipment shall have impervious drip trays placed beneath during operation. Spillages into drip trays shall be collected for safe disposal. Vehicles and mobile equipment shall be regularly inspected to be maintained to confirm for not leaking or dripping. Operators shall be instructed in their HSE training to notify their supervisors if they notice some problems with their vehicles, whereby appropriate maintenance shall be done. Maintenance of construction plant maintenance shall be closely supervised and required measures implemented to prevent hydrocarbons continuation. These measures shall include use of drip trays, absorbent materials, and wait a minute. Yes, I lost this there. Closely supervised and required measures implemented to prevent hydrocarbon contamination. I will speak again because I lost some sentence. Operators shall be instructed. Vehicles and mobile equipment shall be regularly inspected to be maintained, confirmed for not leaking or dripping. Operators shall be instructed in their HSE training to notify their supervisors if they notice some problems with their vehicles, whereby appropriate maintenance shall be done. Maintenance of construction plant maintenance shall be closely supervised and required measures implemented to improve hydrocarbon contamination. Measures shall include use of rephrase, absorbent materials, close at hand, and careful disposal of used materials. Major equipment and vehicles shall be refueled on an impervious base. Care to be taken not to spill any fuel. Absorbent materials shall be available closely. Stationary equipment with impervious drip to be traced shall be refueled in situ. Fuel containers be sealed after use and stored on an impervious base away from water bodies. Higher level of dust contaminant prevention methods shall be used for contaminated excavated material than used for other material. Appropriate measures to may include use of fine water spray to thoroughly moisten all surfaces and maintain surface moist, use of protective fences or screens to provide prevention from winds. Minimizing unnecessary handling of materials and enclosure of excavated material in within proof windproof material in windproof containers prior to removal from site. I read this last again, maybe confusing. Higher level of dust containment prevention method shall be used for contaminated excavated material than used for other materials. Appropriate measures may include the use of fine water sprays to thoroughly moisten all surfaces and maintain surface moist. Use of protective fences or screens to provide prevention from winds. Minimizing unnecessary. Minimizing unnecessary handling of material and enclosure of excavated material in windproof containers prior to removal of from site. Spill response. Maybe I will not be able to complete this chapter as much as possible. Okay. Spill response. Magnitude of discharge or spill shall determine extent of actions that have to be taken. Key actions in responding to spill to minimize its environmental impact are early detection, regular inspections and training to be carried out to enable early detection. It's everyone's responsibility to be aware of potential pollution risks. Notify your supervisor or emergency team. Notify supervisor who shall notify managers. Emergency services shall be notified as necessary. Access, safety, risk are humans. Attempt containment and clean up operations of split substances only when it can be performed safely. If spill material is flammable, eliminate sources of ignition near spill area. Personnel and neighbors are to be evacuated if they are prone to risk. Secure area and establish perimeter control at a safe distance from spill. Stop source of spill. When it can be performed safely, stop source of spill. Pollution control equipment shall be available from contractor site administration offices, storage and refueling areas. Contain spill if it's liquid. Liquid spills. If spill is liquid, its path shall be blocked or diverted and then soaked up using an absorbent material. Gaseous spills or leaks. Gaseous leak must be stopped at source as soon as possible and then dispersed in air. It's not practically possible to contain a gaseous leak, but weather conditions should be checked to assess most likely flow direction into which leaked spilled pollutants shall flow out to. If it is expected to pose a risk to human health, area shall be emergently evacuated. Cleanup. No spills shall be rinsed away. Contaminated soils and cleanup materials from spills must be handled properly using personal protective equipment stored in a suitable container, that is, then labeled and stored in appropriate location for subsequent disposal. Screen cover stockpiles of polluted matter to prevent dispersion. Dispose with care. Contaminated soil and used cleanup materials shall be treated as hazardous waste, which would be disposed of accordingly to a designated disposal site. Document incident. HSE manager of site shall be responsible for ensuring that a report is filed containing information on date, time, location, type and quantity of spilled material. Description and cause of incident, action taken, name of person reporting incident, and recommended actions for ensuring incident doesn't recover, reoccur, reoccur. Spill response materials. Spill response pollution control materials shall be stored in a safe location on site in close proximity to storage and waste areas. This material is to be used to contain and clean up pollution, while care shall be taken to dispose of absorbent materials properly. They shall not be washed away. Site manager shall keep stocks well maintained and replenished. Spill response materials shall include following: sand, sandbags, buckets and shovels, storage containers. Sand is one of most versatile containment materials which can be used to soak up spillages of oil and chemicals, and used in sandbags either to block off substances from sensitive areas or channel them off to a predetermined collection point. Sand stocks must be dry. Buckets and shovels should be readily available. Mechanical loading shovels, excavators, and dump trucks may also be available for sand distribution and cleanup. Storage containers for contaminated materials and earth shall be buried, bund, shall be bund located in water storage area level and treated as hazardous waste. Waste management. I think it will be boring, so but what to do? I have no chance. I just as much as possible. Waste management. EPC contractors' policy to minimize and reuse recycled waste materials whenever possible and to dispose of remaining waste in accordance with this procedure. Before waste can be disposed of appropriately, these first need be categorized and segregated. This, in practice, is often made difficult due to wide range of solid, chemical, and effluent waste that need be segregated, stored, and disposed of. Site manager is responsible for allocation of a trained official to guide and control classification, storage, handling, transport, and disposal of waste. Waste can generally be classified as either domestic and municipal waste, non-hazardous industrial waste, hazardous waste. Storage and disposal methods for reusable, recyclable materials, domestic waste, non-hazardous construction waste, hazardous waste, waste, water, and sanitary waste are described in two tables, as I gave before. Now, Theta 2 is here, water storage and disposal controls. Say all waste, examples, all waste. I'll just pull it out. This is all waste. So it's all waste. A specific, I'm talking about storage. Now in this case, storage and then disposal. A specific area to be designated for storage of waste before it is disposed of site. Selected site should stand away from water bodies, drainage ditches, and shall be located on hard core to minimize risk of soil contamination. Containers shall be bundled where necessary. Fire prevention systems and pollution control equipment shall be provided for storage facilities. where necessary, to prevent fires or releases of hazardous materials to environment. Storage areas should be made inaccessible to animals and visitors. Storage containers shall be of sufficient size and quantity to contain all solid waste generated between connections. Then we go to disposal. How to dispose this such? I talk about storage. Waste shall be transported to designated areas agreed with local authorities, which is concerned the municipality. Disposal of waste shall be delivered to designated area as necessary, supervised by local authorities. Vehicle, Vehicles delivering waste to disposal area shall be covered where necessary to prevent droppings en route, leaking, shifting or blowing of solid waste from vehicle. Spillages or waste lost from disposal vehicle en route to disposal site shall be promptly cleaned up. Before starting work, HSE managers shall confirm that drivers have specialized training related to handling and disposal of cargo. HSE managers shall maintain a working file to record waste being disposed. This shall include date, time, type of waste, approximate volume of waste, and disposal method. Landfill and incineration site shall be periodically inspected. I'll go to the other side of this. And then it says reusable, recyclable timber, metals, paper. Reusable materials shall be stored in an orderly manner and in an accessible location. And reusable materials shall be uh, shall be sent to yard for appropriate recycling. Then domestic waste, food waste, domestic trash, an adequate number of containers shall be strategically placed over construction areas and temporary facilities. These containers shall be regularly collected and taken to main waste storage area. All food waste shall be properly stored in containers with sealed tops to minimize possibility of vermin infestation. Domestic waste shall be disposed of through municipality facilities. Then, non-hazardous construction waste. Combustible, namely non-reusable timber, card, packaging waste, non-combustible, namely concrete, etc. Storage. Construction debris and demolition material shall not be allowed to accumulate such that it presents an environmental, health, and safety hazard. Inert construction waste shall be segregated into combustible and non-combustible. Flammable substances must be stored away from sources of ignition. Combustible waste shall be taken to municipality Incineration area, non-combustible waste shall be taken to landfill area. Hazardous waste. According to United Nations classification, hazardous waste can be categorized as follows: explosives, gases including toxic and flammable gases, flammable liquids including solvents, flammable solids, oxidizing agents and organic peroxides, toxic and harmful substances, including toxic metals, radioactive, corrosives, including acids and alkalis, other dangerous substances. Hazardous waste generated on site may include contaminated land, chemical waste including cleaning fluids, lubricants, paints, dye, coating substances, solvents, corrosion inhibitors, biocides, emulsions, etc., batteries, capacitors, hydrocarbon waste, fire extinguishers. Site manager shall confirm that a trained official is allocated to guide and control classification, storage, handling, transport, and disposal of waste. Hazardous waste shall be retained in a secure area with an impervious bunded base. Area shall be located away from source of ignition. This area shall be at least 70 meter or say 50 feet away from water bodies and drainage ditches. Different types of hazardous waste shall be stored separately to avoid adverse chemical reactions and facilitate eventual treatment. Hazardous waste shall be stored separately from non-hazardous waste. Hazardous waste shall be stored in tightly closed leak-proof containers made of or lined with materials that are compatible with hazardous waste to be stored. Containers shall be clearly marked with appropriate warning labels to accurately describe their contents and detailed safety precautions. Labels shall be waterproof, securely attached, and written in local language and English. Wherever possible, chemicals should be kept in original container. Hazardous chemicals shall be stored and handled in accordance with manufacturer's material safety data sheet, that's called MSDS, material safety data sheet. Spill prevention measures shall be adhered to. Site HSE manager shall register all hazardous waste and disposal methods. Safety data sheets shall be consulted by site HSE managers. Equipment, materials, and skills shall be readily available to deal with spillages. Washing facilities shall be available. Hazardous waste shall be disposed of into area so designated by municipality, which shall remain segregated and in labeled storage containers. HSE manager shall register all hazardous waste and disposal methods. Safety data sheets shall be consulted. HSE manager, which general points above in all waste the section apply. Incompatible hazardous waste shall not be transported together. And then we have to reach another point, and that is Sanitary waste and waste material. Sanitary waste is the last point in this table. I'll speak about this and then close this talk. For next one, the sanitary waste and wastewater. Wastewater and sewage arising from camp. I'll do this one and then close it. It's just in 2 minutes. I'll do this. Fresh water supplies shall be segregated from wastewater in accordance with health requirements of contract documents. No wastewater to be injected into groundwater. All wastewater shall be allowed for settling silt before allowing to drain to ground. All camp units shall be connected to a sewage main which run through a PVC pressure line to a treatment system located adjacent to camp or in camp. Treatment system shall be based upon use of an extended aeration activated sludge process with an aeration system and solids separation using settlement and would consist of twin streams each with adequate capacity. All treated effluent shall gravitate to a chlorine contact tank where chlorination done to achieve a chlorine residue of 0.5 to 1 parts per million ppm prior to passing to a designated collection basin located adjacent to camp. Facilities shall be maintained by contractors to minimize interruptions. Treated effluent water shall be used for irrigation and dust control after it has been analyzed to confirm that it is safe for such intended purposes. Sewage treatment plant shall be erected and made operational during first phase of camp occupancy. This is complicated arrangement for construction projects but essentially done on all industrial projects where oil on onshore projects are involved. It may be byproduct plant or it may be original refinery, it may be control areas, it may be whatever. These are mandatory controls, particularly in those areas. Otherwise, you shall not be allowed to work. There have been instances in absence of these facilities, these rules, these controls, activities have been stopped to work further. There have been records. Safety is safety. You are not allowed to contaminate area otherwise. Project doesn't mean you have to neglect these requirements. These are very much legally as well as professionally required. Contracts are contracts. No game play, no kids play. Therefore, it is very necessary for professionals who are engineers or even non-engineers, who are supervisors, who are managers. They have a basic duty to understand basics of contracts and methods. Otherwise, you cannot work there successfully. You will not be appointed there. You will, even if you are appointed, you will not be able to work successfully until you are clear contractually, technically, and professionally in these matters. You would be administrator, you would be engineer, you will be technocrat, you will be liaison officer, you will be contractual expert or non-expert. All these knowledges shall come into play when you perform on these areas, or else You don't go there, then say, thank you, I cannot come to this project because I cannot handle this, because you have to handle them, or else that area is locked for you. Better don't join. And if you join, be smart enough to accumulate, to acquire all such knowledge. And if you are not able to acquire during duration of project. Read all documents, contractual, technical, non-technical, national, international, etc. It's very much important there. With this, I try to close this and continue next talk, because 5, 6 chapters I've taken. These are very brief chapters. These are not thorough knowledge chapters, just for purpose of indication and guidance that you can do this. It's very, I cannot say that. I'm just expressing what I understand. And I know I may be right, I may be wrong. You can check that. Whatever I could accumulate during my experience with many national and international people, many other people, I got opportunity to work among those people. In whatever position you work, it doesn't make a difference as far as you understand documents and you have knowledge you can acquire, you can do job. That's very important. Success is job. Success is not your position. Success is not what you can achieve. Award. Job itself is an award. Project itself is an award. Therefore, be good to yourself, to the people, to world, and to your project. Thank you very much, gentlemen. I close this.